Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel for player ratings for Leeds United 0, Chelsea 0. I know it's a tough one this, because the fact I've even gathered the motivation to do this video and the fact that you've even clicked on it suggests that, you know, we're not just football fans who look at a 0-0 and think, oh, we'll throw that one in the bin. We'll come back to it another day when the score isn't 0-0. This is all about taking a look at what Chelsea did well in order to go to a very difficult place and keep a clean sheet, but also to see where, going forward, we needed to do a lot better in order to come away with 3 points. Thomas Tuchel is now 13 matches unbeaten in charge of Chelsea. It was another clean sheet yesterday. The sun is blaring in my face right now, so I hope it isn't too bright for you guys, but it's bloody hot for me. We're going to start off today with the goalkeeper, who, quite frankly, was the saving grace in Chelsea's performance yesterday. We didn't do anywhere near enough going forward in terms of being clinical, which is something that we've said a lot in recent weeks, in the past few months or so. We've got a bit better with it, but yesterday against Leeds, it kind of went back to square one in that sense. So we're going to talk about Mendy's performance as really being the one that actually meant that we can't get too frustrated about what happened yesterday against Leeds. We can kind of just put it to bed and be like, okay, no worries. Everton were beaten at home to Burnley. So in terms of our hopes for the top four, it kind of was a point gained after seeing the Everton result. But Mendy made two, in particular, outstanding saves, particularly the one in the first half. The picture he posted on Instagram is phenomenal, where he's flying through the sky, and without that little fingertip, it probably would have ended up hitting the crossbar and bouncing in over the line. So Mendy's save, and obviously the one when he lied down as well and just kind of like lifted his hand up to palm it away, those two saves were enough to give Mendy a 9 out of 10. I thought there were a couple of moments where his distribution wasn't great with the ball at his feet, but I had to give him a 9 because he was the match winner, I guess you could say, for Chelsea, or the match saver is probably more so what we should say instead of winner, because, well, we didn't win the game. We move into captain Puliic, who, if you guys have seen the 6 Things We Learnt video, I gave him a green box yesterday because I thought it was another very good defensive display from our captain. Not only that, but Chelsea was struggling going forward, and Aspi at any opportunity was looking to progress either with the ball or forwards towards the midfielders up the field. I thought it was a confident defensive display from Aspi yesterday, and I've given him an 8 out of 10, but I've also given both Christensen and Rudiger an 8 out of 10. I thought Rudiger, if anything, when I watched the highlights of the game back yesterday, not that there was many highlights to re-watch, I thought Rudiger was probably, on reflection, the best centre-back we had out there yesterday. I gave it to Puliic in the 6 Things We Learnt video because, quite frankly, there wasn't that many things to talk about, and I don't think I probably talk about Puliic enough here on GBFC. But Rudiger made some very important interceptions. He looked very confident on the ball. We also saw him trying to get forward, to overlap the midfielders, to offer Chelsea more of an attacking outlet as well, which, if you guys remember in recent weeks, I've said that of all of the centre-halves, I think Rudiger's the one that I'm least confident with in terms of progressing forwards with the ball. So I think that was very positive yesterday. Christensen gets an 8, Rudiger gets an 8, and I've actually said that at the moment, I wouldn't change any of these 3. I've given all 3 of them the green light to start the game against Atletico Madrid. Thiago Silva wasn't around yesterday. Not sure if that is with Atletico Madrid in mind, but at the same time, after another clean sheet, would it really be smart of Thomas Tuchel to change anything going into this game against Atletico? This defence managed to keep a clean sheet against them before. We're keeping clean sheet after clean sheet after clean sheet in the Premier League. Is it too risky to change things up? Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments down below. We move into the left back yesterday, Ben Chilwell. Now, it was more of like a 4-2-3-1 yesterday from Chelsea, but again, at times it looked as though it was like a 3-4-3, and Chilwell, I think, was the weak link in that Chelsea defence. I've actually given Chilwell a 5.5. It's not that I don't think Chilwell is going to come good in a Chelsea shirt. Some people are already writing him off, which I actually think is a little bit crazy. I still think he's going to be a very good left back for Chelsea Football Club. However, particularly yesterday when Leeds United brought on Helder Costa, he struggled immensely, not just with going forward and being a creative attacking outlet, which at times in the first half he did quite well, But mainly, the worrying thing for me is defensively. He looked very poor yesterday, and I think across the whole lifespan of Chilwell being at Chelsea here on GBFC, I've always complimented Chilwell's ability defensively, how he's quick enough to get back, go forward, get back, go forward. He interchanges that within himself very well, but he really struggled yesterday. And no disrespect to Helder Costa, I think there's definitely better wingers that he'll come up against in the Premier League, where I look at that second half performance and I worry about Chilwell's confidence. And it's not that I worry about his ability, I just worry about his form right now. And obviously he's not been playing as much football as he did under Lampard, but you could also argue that in the latter end of Lampard's era, Chilwell was one of the players who went from being a top performer down to not performing anywhere near the standards that he set himself earlier in the season. So it's a 5.5, and I would actually start Alonso now in that game against Atletico Madrid. It wasn't a performance from Chilwell that filled me with an abundance of confidence. We move into a man who is full of confidence right now, N'Golo Kante. I gave Kante an 8 out of 10 yesterday. I thought he was a very, very good player for us in the middle, breaking the Leeds play down in our own half, and then trying to progress forward with the ball. I thought Kante and Jorginho played both very well in that game together yesterday. A lot of people afterwards were saying, we missed Kovacic's ball progression. We struggled to actually break through from the back going forward. There was something lacking in terms of the creative spark with passing in the centre of the pitch. I thought N'Golo Kante did very well. I think when the ball was given to him from the defenders, his turn of shoulder was good yesterday. The way that he just jinked left and right sometimes to disrupt the tempo of the Leeds midfield and to really take Chelsea on a different avenue that it didn't look like it was going to go to. When it looked like we're going towards the right wing, Kante would do a little shoulder turn, go towards the left wing. I thought he was very impressive yesterday. And a man of N'Golo Kante's quality, I think he has to be playing in the game against Atletico Madrid. Not only that, but the man we're going to talk about next, Jorginho, he's also suspended. So both him and Kovacic will most likely start in the centre for Chelsea against Atletico Madrid. Jorginho, I gave him a 7.5 out of 10. I thought, again, it was a very solid performance from Jorginho yesterday. And I'm seeing now, I've said this for a few weeks, but when he's on the ball, I'm seeing how smart and intelligent of a player Jorginho can be. When he's under pressure, he's very, very good at shielding his body and shielding the ball, either drawing a foul or then being able to twist, turn and pass the ball forwards as a result. Jorginho is playing with a lot of confidence, and I think when Jorginho plays with confidence, he passes forward a lot more than when he might not necessarily be full of confidence, and he's more likely to go sideways and backwards. And I think my camera might well be about to overheat, so hopefully it doesn't turn off for us here. It's getting a little bit hot. We move into Hakim Ziyech, who again, I want to say good things about Ziyech. There are a couple of good passes yesterday where he got his head up, he looked up and he played some lovely balls over the top. But I just don't see enough work from Hakim Ziyech when he doesn't have the ball in order for him to be fighting to get into these positions where he does have that time to actually bend that ball over with his left foot. I gave him a 6 out of 10. I think it was not necessarily as uninspiring as some of the other performances I've seen from him recently, but it still wasn't enough for me to say I'm confident that he'll start the game next against Atletico Madrid. I think he still needs to do a lot more, and I've given him a yellow because I'm not sure. Maybe we see him start, maybe we don't, but for me, just didn't do enough. And at times in the second half, I think he got lost. There were some good attempted passes, but not enough from me. We move into Mason Mount, who everybody's allowed an off day. I wouldn't say it was a bad day at the office for Mason Mount yesterday at Elland Road, but he wasn't as influential as I've become used to him being in a Chelsea shirt. He's been our player of the season, many of people are saying, and he's been so important to what we've done recently. I've given him a 6 out of 10. Unfortunately, he isn't allowed to play against Atletico. He got a yellow card in the first minute of the first leg. So Mason Mount is a red light, but only because he isn't allowed to play because of the rules of the game when you get booked, which is frustrating. And Chelsea are definitely going to miss his energy going into this game against Atletico. Don't think he imposed himself as much as he normally does, so a 6 out of 10 might seem harsh, but I think he's had a lot better games. Okay, I've had to change the angle slightly because the camera was severely overheating, but it's also chopped off my head, so I'm going to have to bend down a little bit here. We move into Christian Puliic, who came back into the side, and I think we saw what Puliic has to offer this Chelsea team within that first half. I thought he was good in the first 25, 30 minutes or so of the game. Then he kind of drifted out. He wasn't getting hold of the ball as much, or he wasn't being given the ball as much. And there were times in that first half where we saw the confidence that Puliic has with the ball at his feet. The first thing in his mind and his intention is to take somebody on, get to the byline, draw the ball into the box. And you could argue that even though Chelsea had more shots on target than Leeds, Leeds had more meaningful attempts on goal. But the best one that Chelsea had was when Puliic took on Alioski, crossed the ball in, and Havertz was unlucky not to convert it. I thought, considering the form that Pulisic's been in and the lack of minutes he's had, I'm not sure he's going to start against Atletico. I've given him a yellow light, but a 6.5 out of 10. I think he tried to... Bloody hell, the wind is making these leaves do weird things. He tried to impose himself, just didn't do enough for me. And we move into Kai Havertz, who played as a lone striker. And this one seems a bit odd because I called it in my preview. I said I wanted Mount, Puliic and Havertz to line up together, with Havertz being the most advanced of those players. And I don't think it worked, to be honest. I think we lacked a little bit of confidence to just get shots away. I don't write Havertz off in that position. I think it would be foolish to say that just because it didn't work the first time we saw it, that it's never going to work for Chelsea with Havertz playing in that advanced role. I just don't think it quite clicked yesterday, and I've given him a 6. I thought he tried to get involved. I thought it was a nice little shot where he turned early and hit that volley straight at the goalkeeper. But when he had that chance, when the lead is very bizarre actually, the Leeds defender showed him onto his right foot, allowed him to go forwards, and I think he took one touch too many, and then he drove it straight at the Leeds keeper, hit it too high, when if he'd have put it down to his right or down to his left, it's a goal. So that was a bit frustrating from Havertz yesterday, but I don't want to jump the gun and say he's never going to be able to do it in that position. It is a 6 out of 10. We move into the 3 Chelsea substitutions. The first one is Rhys James, who I thought came on and actually played very well. As Leeds started to grow into the game in the second half, Chelsea, maybe it was one eye on Atletico Madrid and we kind of lowered the tempo, which as a fan, in my opinion, a must-win Premier League game in the race for the top 4, I didn't want to see us turn it off the way that we did. I wanted to see us turn it on to push for the win. Rhys James came on, and I think he looked to get forward as much as he could, but Chelsea were getting penned in towards the latter stages of the second half, and I thought Rhys did a very good, solid defensive job. Would I start Rhys in the game against Atletico Madrid? Yes. I think Chelsea are going to need his strength. I think we're going to be under the cosh for quite a bit of this game. I think Atletico won't be able to be so sit back as they were in the home leg where Chelsea dominated the possession. They've got to go out and score on Wednesday night. So I think we're going to need Rhys in there defensively. So I've given him a green light and a 6.5. We move into Timo Werner, who had a really poor game, I think, yesterday when he came on. I don't think he imposed himself enough on the Leeds defence. I don't think he got on the ball enough. And I've given him a 5. I thought it was a really poor performance when Timo came on. Again, people think that if I say something harsh about one of these new players that I'm being a little bit too harsh. I also think that I was giving Timo Werner maybe a little bit too much respect for all of the missed chances we saw. I know we're here to talk about the Leeds game. We're not here to talk about what's happened in previous games, but when he came on, I wanted to see him do a lot more. You know, he drew a foul earlier on with a nice little touch to get past the Leeds defender, and I thought, you know, he looks sharp, he looks bright, he looks like he's ready to run at them. But maybe it wasn't all his fault because Chelsea in general didn't create a lot in that second half. But I wanted to see Timo do a lot more. It's a 5. I've given him a yellow light. And we move into a positive. I thought Callum HudsonOdoi, when he came on yesterday, looked very good indeed. I've given him a 7.5 out of 10. For the minutes that I saw him on the pitch. I thought he always offered an option with the ball on the edge of the area or in the area. Got a nice little shot away, but it was a little bit too tame. I want to see Callum bending those in towards the bottom corner or the top corner a bit more. It is something we see quite often. He shoots quite tamely at the goalkeeper at times, HudsonOdoi. But I thought he looked bright, he looked very sharp, he looked as though he was trying, which I don't think many Chelsea players were, trying to impose himself on that Leeds defence. But whether he's going to start against Atletico Madrid, which is kind of part of what the series means, it's about looking at the ratings from the game we've seen, and also whether or not the player did enough to start the next game. It's a yellow light for Callum. I don't think he's going to start, but I think his performance certainly warranted him being in strong contention, maybe as that false 9 second striker. We'll see what Thomas Tuchel goes with, but Going to wrap this one up here. This was not the most inspiring football match to keep any more of your time, but I do want to say a massive thank you for all of the support recently on the channel. It's been great, even though the result yesterday wasn't good. It's kind of like kicked the wind out of us a little bit, but we don't have any time as Chelsea fans to dwell on results. We have a huge game, the biggest game in recent years, in my opinion, against Atletico on Wednesday night. So the content for that one starts tomorrow. Get excited for it. Be sure to subscribe here on GBFC. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the player ratings today. Let me know yours in the comments below, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Come on, you Blues.